It's the Galaxy S25 Ultra after 3 months, and I get so many comments, even on those older videos. Oh, do you hate Samsung? Do you hate the phone? Why do you hate the S25 Ultra? So I wanted to go back and do my 3-month review, give you my full opinions on this particular device, and just kind of get out of the way this misconception that I somehow hate Samsung. I don't hate Samsung. My problem with Samsung, as I tried to articulate in the video, was that I used the Galaxy Note 4. I use the Galaxy Note 9. I use devices like the Galaxy S10 Plus. So I know what the company's capable of. And it just didn't feel like, for the money that I was being charged for the Galaxy S25 Ultra, that that's the full and best experience I could have gotten from Samsung this year. That was my frustration. However, if you take that disappointment out, if you just look at this device in a vacuum, there are very few reasons why you'd be upset with it. So that's what I want to focus on today. What's still good? What's good? I should say still good. It's a flagship device. It's $1,300. There's plenty that's still good about it. But what are the things that I actually enjoy about the Galaxy S25 Ultra? And we're going to take a look at that right now. Ah, yes, my old friend, the Galaxy S25 Ultra. And like I said in the intro, it wasn't that I hated what this particular phone provided. I just don't believe that these devices exist in a vacuum. But let's talk about this one as if it did. Because there's enough people that are going to buy it. There's enough people now looking at carrier discounts and deals 3 months on that are going to be seriously considering this because they want to be in the Samsung ecosystem. For my money, I still believe the S25 Plus is where you're going to want to be. But let's say you want the pen. Let's say you want the larger display. Let's say you want those things to matter to you. Let's take a look at actually this device itself. So I'm going to, it's going to shock a bunch of people, but I'm going to actually spend a few minutes as best I can, holding my inner brain back, as best I can being positive about the Galaxy S25 Ultra. Because I do believe that this is where it becomes difficult, because it's my job as a tech reviewer. It's to distill a lot of this stuff, right? It's to take the larger picture and bring it down to the consumer level and say, this is why we should be asking for these things from these companies. But I still have to be able to review the phones objectively. And based on performance and what you get, this is an objectively good device. Display, second to none. Gorgeous panel. I've always loved Samsung displays. But the anti-reflective layer just makes it like you're touching the content. It makes it like the content is literally right there in front of you and you're touching it. That's something that you don't get on other displays. You don't get on curved displays, by the way, which I'm not saying is a deal breaker, but I just think it makes a significant difference on this particular panel, and it looks absolutely gorgeous. It gets bright. It really takes advantage of how colorful and poppy One UI 7 is. It's a phenomenal, phenomenal experience, and I say this all the time. We use the display, and we interact with the display 100% of the time we're using the phone. So it makes a difference, and this one is an absolutely gorgeous one. Performance as well, you're not going to complain. Snapdragon 8 Elite for Galaxy, no concerns with that whatsoever. I'm looking forward to what are the desktop class applications that we're going to be promised. I worry about that on a smaller screen. I say it's comical saying a 6.9-inch display is a smaller display. But we're most likely maybe going to get the Samsung trifold later in the year. I think that's when you're going to see the Snapdragon 8 Elite really come into its own. When you have a big 16:9 or 16:10 aspect ratio and a huge, whatever it is, 9, 10-inch display that you're unfolding, that's when I think you're going to really take advantage of a lot of that power. That's why I think the app developers are going to be able to have fun. I'm not editing 4K video on this. So, that's where you kind of lose me a little bit, what it's going to be. You're going to sit here and game or ray tracing for 2 hours in front of your phone. Some people do. That's fine. But I just don't, I fail to see what the applications are going to be. But it's a good problem to have, right? No problems whatsoever with performance. I can't see any performance for a little bit later on. So I think that's going to be fine. So 12 gigs of RAM. Again, you're going to have no problems in 2025, 2026, probably even 2027. Would I have liked to have seen more? Yes, because you're selling me on a phone with Galaxy AI, and you tell me the AI stuff is RAM intensive, and you're charging me $1,300, $1,400 for this. So that's where I would have liked to have seen that little bit extra RAM, because the 4 gigs extra is going to help you in 2028, 2029. You're spending $13. Let's say you're not getting this on a carrier deal. Let's say you're not getting a 3-year contract that you're going to turn it in and get the next one and whatever else, it doesn't matter to you. Let's say you're shelling out that money ahead of time. There are plenty of people who pay up, who will pay $1,500, $1,600 because they're coming from an S20 Ultra. You know, I wrote an article about the end of support on the S20 Ultra a couple weeks ago, and there were people saying, you know, I still got mine. You know, I'm just now upgrading to this. They spend more money because they want to keep it longer. That's why I worry about that stuff. But for the most part, for the most people getting this on a carrier deal, you're financing it for a few years, you're not going to notice any difference for the foreseeable future. Battery life is good. All day battery life. Into the second day, into the evening of the second day, are you going to have to worry about, you know, topping it off, getting it to a charge? Yes. But you got 45-watt fast charging. It's not exactly snail pace anymore. So I think you're getting enough there to really enjoy that experience. Speakers are really good. The content consumption experience on this device is really good. That's where I think Samsung really excels with all their devices. But I think that the content consumption between the speakers and the screen and the battery life make this a really nice companion if you're somebody that takes it with you. Plus, the squared off design is just better for stuff. You know, we watch stuff. I don't like, that's when I really run into problems with these curved displays and these really like the 9A with the really kind of rounded edges. That's not how we view content. That's not how content is designed, at least for me. Web pages, all the rest of it are meant for more like this. So even though it's not as squared off as the S24 Ultra, you still get enough of that aspect ratio that I think you're going to like. It's relatively thin, 8.2 millimeters, I think, thick. I prefer the little thinner on the S25 Plus, but this still is pretty good in the hand. No real issues there. I feel like I would have liked a little bit more bezeled or molded, I guess, kind of in the back here to kind of mold into your hand, much like Samsung did on the S24 FE. So that's why I was expecting it here. That's why I was a little bit more confused. They sort of do it to not make it as flat and as sharp as the front end there, but it's not quite as good as it could be molding into your hand. But otherwise, it feels good. Premium, no doubt about that. I really like what Samsung's done with the color temperature, with the color science on the photos. I think that's where you need to be. It's sharp enough. It's not oversaturated. It's not blowing anything out, but it adds just a touch of warmth. It makes it a pleasing image to look at online. So I love that I can admit, the two things can be true at the same time. I can admit that technically the Pixel takes a better photo. From the white balance, from the lens itself, from the computational photography side, from producing a crisp image and clear image. Technically, the Pixel's a better image. But, hand on heart, if you had to ask me which one aesthetically I wanted, without any tweaking, just point and shoot, 100 photos, point and shoot, chances are I'm going to choose more of the Galaxy S25 Ultra images than I am the Pixel images. And that just comes down to color science and something that Samsung's done over the last couple of years, which I really like that. One UI 7 and Galaxy AI, two separate things. I know Samsung tries to combine them. One UI 7 is really good. One UI 7 is smooth. I like the changes. I like the app drawer. It's just amazing how a small thing like that could actually make a huge difference, but it does. I like the app drawer. I like the aesthetic overhaul. It needed it. Yes, I changed back to where I need 2 swipes for whatever. I like that. It's smooth. As you can see, it's snappy. No issues. Galaxy AI, it works, sort of. The now bar's fixed. I like that. I absolutely just ate Samsung's lunch for that. It annoyed me no end. So I could see the Knicks scores. No Ranger scores anymore, but I could see the Knicks scores and the playoffs down at the bottom. I could add my teams and I could see them and know that when a game's on, it's actually going to have them at the bottom of the screen. Now bar media controls on the now bar look great and work great. I love having Google Maps down there on the now bar. That's great. But then now brief, literally nothing. Nothing. 3 months on. And it's amazing to me that Samsung was doing commercials for Now Brief. And I'm like, well, let me see, what is Samsung's image? Like, what's the best case scenario for Now Brief for Samsung? Let me see what the potential's supposed to be. What are you going to advertise Now Brief to me on as a reason why I'd pick up this phone in a national commercial during the NBA playoffs? And it was literally this. And I'm like, this is the vision? This is the best case scenario? So I forget Now Brief. One UI 7 is good. Galaxy AI, use it for what you got to use it for. If you're using AI to talk to people and draft messages back and forth, or drafting text to your friends, if you need AI to draft a text to good friends of yours, and it's not for a reason like I'm driving hands-free or whatever. If you're sitting down and you have the ability to focus on your phone and type in a message to your friends, and you're using AI to draft it, and hoping that it picks up your context and the way you speak and your whatever, then I can't help you. I can't help you. I know there are people who do that. If it's some sort of whatever, I apologize. If it's for a reason, whatever. But I just can't get behind those functionalities being the reason why I get excited about Galaxy AI on a phone. And that's, to me, what's really got to change. And then you got the stylus stuff, or the S Pen stuff, which still works well despite not having the Bluetooth stuff. So overall, the scorecard's good. Overall, there's not a lot to find fault in on this phone. It's when you bring the lens out. It's when you zoom out and you look at the others and you look at what you get and you look at what the hope for this phone is in the future, that you start to get a little disappointed. But in 2025, 2026, 2027, for your $1,300, now I hope on a deal, you're going to get a pretty good phone out of this. It's going to be hard to complain about the experience on your S25 Ultra. If you made it this far, like, comment, subscribe, all that fun stuff. Until next time, have that Steve-licious day.